係，各位議員同事，麻煩大家返埋。
Please be seated, members. This is the panel on public service. It's the first meeting of the 2017-18 session. We will now elect chairman and deputy chairman. You might have heard it many times. Under ROP 77(6), if you are a chairman or deputy chairman of a government advisory body related to the terms of reference of this panel, you cannot become the chairman or deputy chairman of this panel. And on top of that, within the same session, a member may not be the chairman or deputy chairman of more than one panel. And under Article 22, paragraph 22 of the House Rule and Appendix 4, we will now have the election of chairman. I invite nominations. Mr. Gary Chan, I nominate Mr. Poon Siu Ping. Any seconders? Seconded by Ms. Dari Lee. Mr. Poon, do you accept? I do. Any other nominations? I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Since there are no other nominations, Mr. Poon Siu Ping is elected the chairman of this panel ipso facto. And I'll give the floor to Mr. Poon. Thank you for your support. Now, election of the deputy chairman. This is for the 2017-18 session. A valid nomination is to be made orally and has to be seconded by another member orally. Any nominations? Mr. Charles Mok, I nominate Ms. Jeremy Tam. Any seconders? Seconded by Mr. Lam Cheuk Ting. Mr. Jeremy Tam, do you accept? I do, yes. Any other nominations? If not, I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Jeremy Tam is elected the deputy chairman of this panel. Item 2, schedule of meetings for the 2017-18 session. The Secretariat has given us, well, actually has tabled a list. There are several dates that have been changed. One is the third Monday in February is the 4th day of the Chinese New Year, so it will be changed to the 26th of February at 10:45. We have regular meetings usually for our regular meeting. So for the April meeting, since there are special FC meetings between the 16th to the 20th, so that meeting will be changed to the 13th of April at 10:45. For June, that date is the Dragon Boat Festival, so it will be changed to the Friday at 10:45. Thank you. Next, we will deal with the third item. That is items for discussion at the next meeting. There is the list of outstanding items for discussion and the list of follow-up actions. Any views? Ms. Tip Kin Yun? It's about the list of outstanding items. I have a number of points to make. First, I would like to discuss on the review of the pay scale of teachers of government schools. Second one is the employment policy post-service of staff members in the public service. The third item is about whether staff of public service may be paid salary when they are suspended. There are some discrepancies under CSR. If they are suspended, then they will receive half of the salary. However, with the legislation of school-based ordinance, teachers will not be remunerated when they are suspended, and even if they are acquitted afterwards, they will not receive back pay. I'll have a discussion with the administration after we've received the information. Some members have also raised their hands. Ms. An Chang. I have sent a letter, to the last chairman, Mr. Kok Wai Keung. It's about discipline services and the grade structure review. I would like to include it in items for discussion, hopefully as soon as possible. I have heard from members of discipline services saying that there is a need to review the grade structure and pay scale, because the pay scale cannot reflect the differences of duties. And when it comes to civilian grades of the civil service, there will be a review once every 6 years. But for discipline services, it's been almost 10 years since 2008, and there has not been any review. Shouldn't we hear from the administration? I hope that the grade structure review of discipline services will be conducted as soon as possible. I have a letter here. I hope, Chairman, you will make arrangements as soon as possible. Well, school principals of primary and secondary schools. A lot of primary school principals said that it's that their pay scale is different from that of secondary school heads. A lot of primary schools nowadays are whole day schools. Entry requirements are the same between primary schools, head of primary schools and head of secondary schools. So do I need to send you another letter? Your letter has been forwarded to members. I'll have a discussion with the secretary. Well, in relation to school heads, would it be better for it to be discussed in the panel on education? Yes, but they follow a pay scale of civil servants. Perhaps you will look into it. There will be a discussion in the education panel. Next, Mr. Gary Chan. I have received letters and WhatsApps from lifeguard unions. Well, this is in relation to the training school of lifeguards as well as grade structure review. I noticed that there are some proposals made, so can we ask the administration to give us written reply so that when you have a discussion with the secretary, then there will be a basis. Well, actually, under any other business, we will discuss Mr. Jonathan Ho's proposed item. I agree that we will first have to get information from the administration first before we follow up on this. Mr. Ho. I have received letters from a number of lifeguard staff unions. Under the current mechanism, they can't have grade structure review. Well, it's because they have not encountered any recruitment difficulties and they have not encountered any significant changes either. However, well, there are more and more people who died from drowning because rescue was not given in time. So we do need to deal with the grade structure review of lifeguards. This will enhance safety, public safety. Perhaps the chairman can talk to the secretary first. I don't think that I'll be able to make it to the House committee. I hope that we will get some reply from the administration, maybe 2 or 3 meters down the line. And about retirement age for NCSC, they may be non-civil service. They are non-civil service contract staff. Their contracts are not reviewed when they reach the age of 60. But from the policy address, we see a proposal that civil servants may retire at the age of 65. NCSCs, can they stay till they are 65 as well? I hope that it will be put on the list of outstanding items for discussion. This will address the issue of a manpower shortage. Mr. Lam Cheuk Ting. Previously, I asked for a discussion about meal break arrangement for ambulance men. I hear from the FSD, the Fire Services Department, that this item will be withdrawn. I want it to be retained. I heard from the Secretariat that there is a reply letter. If you ask for this item to be retained, I will have to have further discussions. I've received a letter from their staff union. They want it to be discussed. They want the item to remain on the list. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. I support what Ms. Ann Chang said, that the GSR for discipline services should be included. Firefighters have been asking for an independent grade structure or grade structure review. Well, the administration said that they hope the civil service will make better use of innovation and technology. So what about civil service and training? What are the plans?
Also, I would like to discuss the retirement age for disciplined forces. Mr. Gary Chan and Mr. Jonathan Ho referred to matters related to lifeguards. I think that we should discuss that. But if we are to set up a subcommittee, we will have to wait for a long time before it can be established. So maybe we can discuss this lifeguard issue at the meetings of the panel. I've heard your views. Mr. Jeremy Tam, Vice Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I have received requests from lifeguards. We appreciate their concerns. And we understand the issues raised by Mr. Jonathan Ho. And Dr. Elizabeth Quat was right in pointing out that if we are to line up for a subcommittee to be set up on that, I'm afraid that we won't be able to set up such a subcommittee within our term. So can that be listed in the list of outstanding items for discussion so that we can at least have an initial discussion here at the panel? So let's discuss that at the panel. And also, I want to mention something about grade structure. And I would like to talk about the GFS and the CAD. And the pilots are working there. For the GFS, Government Flying Service, well, for these two government departments, they are the only two government departments in the government which have to employ pilots. Pilots are hired to provide rescue and other support services, and the CAD needs pilots to serve as inspectors to make sure that the airline companies comply with the prescribed conditions. And they face difficulties in recruiting enough staff, and the turnover is high because very often the pilots leave the government after they've served some time, and it's difficult to recruit from overseas. So this grade is needed by two departments, but then they don't have an independent grade structure. So how should we deal with it? I would like a subcommittee to be set up on this, but I don't think that's the right approach. We are talking about two government departments here, and it has also to do with the grade structure, and there's a special post or grade, and two departments are involved, and not many people are concerned about it. Unlike disciplined services, they hire a large number of staff, but then for the pilots, a small number of people are hired, and there. If we lose, say, a couple of them, then it means we're losing 20 to 30% of that grade. So let's not take lightly the matter. Well, let's discuss this with the administration. Mrs. Regina Yip, I support. We discuss grade structure review for disciplined forces, and we should expedite our work on that. The fire services would like to have an independent grade structure, and I support lifeguards being trained more and more support be provided to them. Mr. Jeremy Tam, second round. For the GFS, let's review the position of the superintendent. Now, for the GFS, the head of the GFS is just the post of an assistant director, whereas it's not the case for other government departments. So should we turn the head of GIFS into a directorate post instead of an assistant director post? We've heard your views, and I will meet with the Bureau directors very soon. Now, for the the October regular meeting that will be held next Monday at 10:45 a.m. And the preliminary arrangement is that we would be given a briefing by the Secretary for Civil Service on the CE's policy address, and we would also be looking at the manpower situation of the Occupational Safety Officer grade of the Labour Department. If you have no objection, we'll proceed with these two items. Originally, we were supposed to discuss the AOB as moved by Mr. Jonathan Ho. Well, let's first discuss with the administration, ask them for some information first before we will see how we'll deal with it going forward. Any AOB? If not, then meeting adjourned. Thank you.